It's Radio Free 501c, the podcast of Rogue Tulips Consulting. I'm Cecilia Supp, your host. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on every major podcast service, so we're on yours. This week I welcome two guests from the Nonprofit Alliance, Shannon McCracken, CAE, and Shelby Truxon. And we're here to talk about something really important, which is promoting our profession. And our topic is nonprofit career internships and how they can guide people on this path. Hey, everybody, it's Monday, May 1st. Happy May Day to everyone around the world. It's Monday, and that means it's time for another episode of Radio Free 501c, the voice of Rogue Tulips Consulting. I'm your host, Cecilia Supp. I'm the principal and founder, and I want to thank you for joining us this week. To our global audience, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be, and thanks again for joining us. I am really excited about this week's topic of nonprofit career internships because not a lot of people know that this is a career option. This is a real profession with real knowledge and skill sets. And I'm so pleased to have Shannon McCracken and Shelby Truxon from the Nonprofit Alliance, and they're here to talk about their internship program. But before we jump into the topic, I would like to ask Shannon to please introduce herself and say hello to our audience.
Hello, audience. Thank you so much for queuing us up and for having us here today, Cecilia. I've spent my career, so to your point, not everybody knows that this is a career. I've spent my career, 25 plus years in the nonprofit sector, many of those years with Special Olympics and fundraising and development roles, a couple years as Chief Development Officer with Charity Navigator, which is the largest charity evaluator in the United States. And then about 5 years ago, I was invited to come here and be the founding CEO of the Nonprofit Alliance.
Wow. That's wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So Shelby, tell us a little about yourself.
Yes. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Cecilia, for having me. So I also have many years in the nonprofit industry, about 15 plus years, working with different organizations from started out working with a association management company, and then I've worked for a standalone association, the Solid Waste Association, and I developed a focus on mentorship programs and working with students and young professionals. And also I have a marketing background. And so last year I was brought on to be with TNPA to build their internship program. So just really happy to be here, happy to introduce this industry to young people.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Shelby. And everyone, both Shannon and Shelby, their first time guest here on Radio Free 501c, but this is also Shelby's first time as a guest on a podcast. So I am really excited that this is your first experience because we have a lot of fun here at Radio Free 501c. And your work, what you're doing, what you're both doing, I think is so important. Full disclosure to the audience, I am a recent new member of the Nonprofit Alliance. And one of the things that jumped out at me when I was reading about the Nonprofit Alliance is they use the word protect. They want to protect the nonprofit community and protect the nonprofit profession. So Shannon, can you please tell us a little bit more about the Nonprofit Alliance, what it does and what it's about?
Absolutely. And you led right into that. The Nonprofit Alliance, or TNPA, is association for nonprofit organizations and for companies that work with nonprofits to support our missions. And we have a 3-part mission ourselves, which is to promote, to protect, and to strengthen. The protect part, as you said, comes through our advocacy work and our work on policy issues that affect nonprofits writ large. We strengthen the sector, especially through our leadership programs. So we have a year-round leadership lab, a 3-day leadership summit, and a 1-day rising leaders program. So really focused on the talent and the skills and the community of executives working in this sector. And then the promoting part takes different shape and different forms. But one of those is our Leading Edge program, which is an internship program looking to build career pathways for college students to explore the nonprofit sector as a first step in their career journeys. We focus especially on operations roles. So when you think about a college student who is deciding where they want to go, where they want to take their finance degree or their marketing degree or their technology and data science degree, right? They can see really clear pathways in the corporate sector, and they don't always realize that that business operations skill and expertise is needed in the nonprofit sector just as much. So introducing those opportunities to students, and we have a particular focus on student populations that have been historically underrepresented in the nonprofit sector and across workplaces everywhere.
That is fantastic. I am so glad to hear this. I think we need a stronger voice on behalf of nonprofit overall. So many people still don't know what it means. They don't know what it's about. They don't understand that all 501c organizations are nonprofit. It's what kind of nonprofit you happen to be that starts the unique differentiation. So I'm very excited to learn about the Nonprofit Alliance. Funny story, I happened to be browsing job postings and saw there was a job opening at the Nonprofit Alliance. I don't know if there still is, but that's how I learned about the Nonprofit Alliance, because I thought, oh, well, that looks interesting. Let me go learn more about this group. So we will be asking Shannon and Shelby for their contact information later on in the show, but I'm sure they'll share the website so you can go explore the Nonprofit Alliance as well and learn more about it. But today we're here to talk about their fantastic internship program that introduces nonprofit management as a career pathway, as Shannon said. So let's start over to Shelby. So Shelby, can you tell us a little bit more about the program, how long it's been around, and how it helps?
Sure. So it is new. We started last March, actually when I started at TNPA as well. And what we did is we ran a pilot version of the program last summer, where we matched university students with 5 employers to intern for them over the summer for about 10 weeks. And what we do is we'll go to the universities, go to career fairs, we post on all the job boards, the positions, and then the students can apply for each position they're interested in. And then the employers interview them. And if they're interested and they want to hire them for the summer, they bring them on board. And what makes it unique is they not only intern with the employer, but they also get to interact with us at TNPA, where we will bring on guest speakers to talk about their roles and how they got started in the industry. We'll do sessions and have meetups to just talk about, things that they need to learn about the industry, their different misconceptions they might have about it, things like that, and just really educate them about all the different career paths they can take in the industry. So it's a full program where they have an internship, but they're also learning about the sector. They're learning about what we do in various ways, and they get to have a good time as well. So,
well, I'm going to guess that they're probably surprised that that is a job opportunity.
Very surprised, yes. I often have to, I share my story with them and how I started and how I didn't know. And they all say the same thing, like, yes, like, my school never mentioned this. No one ever mentioned this as an option. So they're very it opens their eyes to be able to see professionals like us, telling them like, hey, like, you can build a really good career in this because I did it. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, and do you find that okay, I'll just be upfront. I'm not a fan of the generational differentiation that people tend to fall into about younger people, but I do kind of look at the younger generations, post Gen X, and I often say I think they're going to save the world because they're actually doing what we said we were going to do. So do you find that the younger people have more interest in a nonprofit for that reason, because they're not necessarily motivated by money?
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. And I say the same thing about them. They're just very, very socially conscious about everything. And it's really not, there's not a lot of convincing that I have to do, because they're already, really excited about changing the world and saving the environment and doing all the things that we do, every day. So they're very excited. It's just getting it in front of them. But once they hear about it, they're on board. It's not hard to convince them.
Fantastic. I love that. So Shannon, let's take it up to the strategic level. So Shelby's in there running the program. She's making it happen. She's connecting people. How does the internship program fit into the overall strategic direction of the Nonprofit Alliance?
Sure. Well, it certainly fits in that vertical of promoting the nonprofit sector. And, as well as anyone, Cecilia, that the overall value proposition for associations looks really different now than it did, a decade ago, or because it used to be that whatever profession you were in, your association was your source for all your professional development, all of your growth and expertise, like knowledge base, your community. That's how you could connect with people. That was, even certifications and the like. And that's really changed now for lots of different reasons. And so associations have to have a different kind of value proposition. We need to provide that professional development. We certainly need to provide community. The advocacy component remains very important. But this other piece of what else are we doing that can impact and improve your world, your workplace, your mission focus right now, and the sector overall. And so it's really about being part of this bigger change. The idea for the internship program bubbled up from our members in our very early days of the Nonprofit Alliance. Leading Edge is part of our DEI initiative. And as we were talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion at one of our leadership summits, this idea of looking at the workforce, looking at some of the challenges we've identified here of college students. We want college students to be intentional in their choice of a career in the nonprofit sector. And we also need greater diversity, particularly in our mid and large size organizations and the companies that are working with them. And so, all of those pieces kind of coming together and how TNPA could be part of the solution was really the recipe to get us here.
And you already answered my next question, Shannon, because I was going to say, where did this idea come from? So I really love that. So do you think, Shannon, that this is a program that other associations could model? So whether or not you're a professional society or a group like Nonprofit Alliance, is this something that other people could do you think?
Yes, I think it's certainly not proprietary to us. There are other associations and other organizations out in our space and across other industries that are doing this. I will say it would be very hard for us to do, if not impossible, without somebody like Shelby in that role, having a dedicated staff person. And no doubt that team will need to continue to grow over time. Somebody who comes in and has some experience with building internship programs, building mentorship programs. It's a lot of relationship work with the universities and colleges. Some good instincts in how to do that, and ability to communicate and relate to the employers as one audience, and then the college students themselves. And those can be two really different skill sets, right? So this isn't something that an organization could do, I think, just as a side project. It's, even though our interns right now are placed solely for that summer term, it is year-round work for the programming and the prep and the outreach.
Wow, I can only imagine, because you would have to find spaces, you'd have to meet the employers and put the whole thing into motion. So Shelby, let's bring it back to your program specifically, now that Shannon's outlined the strategic part of it. You mentioned mentoring, and I'm a big proponent of mentoring. I mentor people. I also work with my clients on mentoring programs from time to time. I actually ran my own mentoring program for a year as an ad hoc volunteer. So I know how much work that takes. So how big of an element is mentoring within your internship program?
So it's an element that is growing, I would say, because we're more so focused on the internship part of it. But what we have been able to do is kind of integrate the mentorship aspect into the program. So it's not its own separate thing right now. But what we do is every employer that has an intern, we encourage them to identify someone in the organization who could be, a type of mentor to the student while they're there. So like connecting them with, someone who maybe is, if they want to be a CEO one day, maybe connecting them to the CEO, or connecting them to a manager who also had a similar path. So finding ways for them to connect with professionals where they are has been one way that we do it. We also do webinars throughout the summer, and we open that up to all students, not just the interns. And we did an event, a speed mentoring event, which was fun, where they just rotated around the Zoom rooms and talked to all these different professionals. So we try to take the approach of there are different types of mentorship. It's not always a big program where you're with a mentor with one person for, months or a year, but it could just be a webinar. It could just be a conversation that you have. It could just be exchanging those emails. So if they have a question, they can email them or call them. So we have been able to integrate it into the program, and then we're looking at expanding on that from there moving forward as well.
Yeah, that's great that you take that approach to mentoring. I call that micro mentoring. Because I also learned that you don't have to have this 12-month, 1 hour a month, fill out the forms, read this big book, and show up at annual conference kind of program to be a mentor. It's anytime you answer a question, help somebody out with a problem, or maybe you just spend a couple weeks talking with them off and on about something, guiding them through something. So I'm just excited to hear that. So, and you've mentioned employers, you connect with employers. So when you say employers, you mean the nonprofit organizations that the internship is with?
Right. So nonprofits and companies that support nonprofits. Yeah. So they're the ones we reach out to them, and basically we tell them, what we're doing, and to see, are they looking for an internship that summer or intern that summer? And if they are, that's what we post on our website, or their internship openings, and then we can match the students to work with them over the summer. So it's really all us. It's kind of like a partnership where we're working with the employer to bring the students into the sector and teach them about the career opportunities.
And an important aspect of all of our internships is that we require that they're paid. Unpaid internship is called volunteer, and nonprofits have plenty of volunteer opportunities, and college students are really good volunteers, but what we're doing are paid internships. And that's really important because it creates better opportunity. Many college students can't afford to volunteer for free all summer, right? They need that professional experience. They want that professional experience and exposure. And they also need to make some money over the summer to pay tuition and living costs. And so that is a core requirement that every intern through our program has to be paid an hourly wage.
Wow, that's great, Shannon. I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the questions I had, and Shannon, you may know this, or maybe this is a better question for Shelby, but I'm going to throw it to you first, Shannon. Okay. So what are the rules? Now, I know there are different rules under labor law about internships, paid or not paid, stipends or not stipends. So do you know, what is the current law on that?
They do vary by state, and Shelby, I'm sure, is more fluent in some of these nuances, but we just cut right through that and say any intern that's placed through our program or any employer that's working through us has to pay at least their local minimum wage. And some will pay more than that, but that's the threshold we set.
Wow, that's great. That is good to know. Because I was thinking, maybe I could get an intern, but probably not, because I'm just a solopreneur. But for those of you out there who do have room for interns, keep this in mind. So Shannon, when you started this program, now Shelby's mentioned it's been about a year, and she's basically been building it for you over time. So have you seen it affect the perception of member value already? Do you feel that it's increased that?
We have, and one challenge for us collectively for the sector right now, we've always had to compete with the corporate sector for workforce, right? For talent, and one key aspect of the nonprofit sector that has set us apart and made us special is that social good piece, that we are for purpose rather than for profit. So that set us apart, and that's very appealing, as we talked to earlier, especially with this younger generation coming into the workforce now. That's a real draw. But the flip side of that, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing overall, but the flip side for us is, as this competition piece, is that many corporations now are leaning into their social good commitments. So their sustainability and commitment to climate change, their social justice positions, those pieces. And so we're losing a little bit of that competitive edge. We're losing that piece that's made us really special. And so I know we're hearing from our members that they appreciate that we are elevating the diversity conversation, that we are looking to be part of the solution. So it's not just talking, but like what is the dent we can make in this? TNPA cannot do this without our members. We hire interns here through our own program, but that's, one at a time, right? So we really need this massive of our members to participate in this, and they see the value in it. So whether they've signed up as an employer, they're participating in the programs as mentors or panelists or presenters, as Shelby spoke about, in sponsoring our program and helping to support it to grow. Different members and different companies and nonprofits in our community are certainly seeing this as something that's special and unique.
Well, and I have not heard of any other association like the Nonprofit Alliance doing something like this. As far as organizing nonprofit internship opportunities with people. And I love that it's also with companies that support nonprofit organizations, because there's a lot to learn on both sides of that. So, and I had another question. It's so funny. Like, I get so caught up in the conversation and then I forget what my next question might be. But Shelby, what do you think is the most important aspect of starting a new program like this, when you're looking at starting an internship program like you have done quite successfully? What are some of the first things people need to consider?
I would say definitely consider all the different audiences that you need to work with. Like Shannon mentioned, I'm not just working with the students. I have to work with employers and schools. So there's 3 different groups that, I'm kind of working with and bringing together. So, identifying, who are the people you're serving is number one, I would say, and very important. And then figuring out, what they need, how can you help them? How can you be of service to them? And then that would allow you to be able to figure out how to structure your program, how to bring it together, what to do, and where to go from there. So that's an important part of it. Also having a plan, of course. I'm an idea person, as Shannon will tell you. So we did a lot of brainstorming sessions, but we didn't just keep it there. We then put that to an actual plan to plan ahead, as far as what we wanted this to look like. And then that would kind of guided us in terms of, how to go about things and how to set it up. And I think that also helped us to set it up very quickly, because I started in March and we had our first cohort start in June. So I basically had 2, maybe 3 months to actually start and build this. But having those conversations, brainstorming sessions, was really important to help with that. And then also making sure, as Shannon also mentioned, having that structure in place and making sure that you have what you need, have the support you need, have a dedicated person to handle and manage it from day to day. All those things really play into each other. I definitely couldn't have started it and got it off the ground without those conversations with Shannon, with the board members, and without them having a vision for what they were looking for as well. So I think all of those things are necessary to start a program like this.
Yeah, that is so true. I agree with that. Having started a lot of different things myself, yeah, you definitely need a lot of people involved and to make it happen. Nobody does anything alone. So no matter what it is. So Shannon, I remembered my question because Shelby gave such a great detailed response to that question. My question to you, Shannon, is a lot of people have started talking about for-profit membership, quote unquote, competition. And competition, as you mentioned, for social good programs. There's actually some for-profit versions of nonprofit out there, for lack of a better word. So we have that going on. So, it's my opinion, this has been going on for many years. It's been going on for at least 20 years, if not longer. And now people are suddenly noticing it. But what's your take on the situation in the CSE chair?
So the take on the situation of corporates really kind of creeping into that social good footprint.
Yeah, the for-profit competition of
Yeah.
what.
I mean, if we can really step back from our nonprofit, take our nonprofit sector hats off for just a second and look at the greater good, we want our corporations and by virtue all of their employees, we want them to have ownership and commitment towards the social issues and the environmental issues, and they are very well resourced. They have incredible market share that they can help get out important messages and change minds and change understanding. And so we don't want to take away from that. Their work in the social good space doesn't detract from the importance of nonprofits. Much of the work that some of those companies are doing when they're talking about their efforts towards their platform, whatever that may be, they're still channeling that through a nonprofit, right? They're turning around and their support is working through a nonprofit structure or a group of nonprofits, or they're building on the work that nonprofit entities have laid the foundation for. So there's still this, there's I think where we are right now is finding that balancing act and where we can be partners and not competitors, because there is plenty of work for all of us. And really interesting study just came out from Lilly School of Philanthropy, and it's like 5% of people that were surveyed, and this was very well done survey, 5% of people identified that they have received services from a nonprofit. So sit on that statistic for a moment, 5%. So nobody is recognizing, like, growing up, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and their PTA and their house of worship, like all of these are nonprofits. When they walk down the street and the street is clean or their park is clean, sometimes that's government, but sometimes those are nonprofits. There's all of the ways it's, our benefit. Sometimes we think of nonprofit, we think of the traditional term of charity, and we think of, well, have I received the benefits of a food pantry, or have I received, those kinds of human services? But nonprofits are so much bigger than that. So if we're creating this, if I can identify that I'm receiving services, that I've benefited from the work of a nonprofit organization, and my family has, and my colleagues have, and then I have this responsibility to ensure that nonprofits continue to thrive, and corporations can help us share that message, then that's good for all of us.
That's right. That's great. Yeah. And I know people have been talking, though, about the groups like Chief and some other groups that they say they're a membership group and they're not a nonprofit membership group. But I kind of look at those groups as kind of like American Express or Costco, where you are a member, quote unquote, you pay a membership fee so you can go spend more money. I mean, it's just like, so I think people are starting to look at that and be a little more worried. But it's my opinion, and one or both of you can heartily disagree with me, but I think it's because we've abdicated our opportunity to define what it is to be a nonprofit organization, that nonprofit management is a unique profession and we are not a bunch of worker bees. And also the opportunity to really show our stuff and all those things, Shannon, that you outlined that we can do to help society, and all those things we do that make a difference. And so there really is a need for us in the world, I think now more than ever. And I think that's why we're starting to get crowded out of the marketplace and market awareness. So that's my opinion on it. Any comments?
Well, we're all looking for a sense of belonging and a sense of community. I mean, COVID underscored that for us, but you said earlier, none of us succeed on our own. We do better with people around us and people helping us. And that's true for family structures. It's true for organized religion. Look at any example of a successful structure in society through history. And and associations provide, that's the root of associations, is bringing like people together with similar interests and similar professional goals, and nonprofits bringing people together. The positioning of nonprofit service organizations has really shifted in the past several years. If you kind of track back, it used to be much more of like, here's what we are doing, and here's how you as a donor can help so we can serve these people over here. Like it's this triangle or this pass through. And the messaging now is much more about how the nonprofit and the donor together are part of this community with the people or the cause that they're serving, and much more inclusive of the whole circle rather than a triangle. And it's that piece of belonging where if we have that sense of being part of something versus, over here supporting something, we're investing together.
See, and what Shannon said, that well said, how it all fits together, how we can all work together. I've been having so much fun talking to the two of you. I didn't even realize it's time to wrap up our episode. So as I like to do with guests, I like to ask, what is the one thought you would like people to take away today? And if they want to get in touch, what's the best way to get in touch with you? I want to throw it over to Shelby first and get her closing thought.
Yes. One thing I definitely want everybody to take away is kind of what we talked about, that this generation, they are ready. They really do want these opportunities to work for the social good and really, like we said, change the world. So that, I really encourage employers to really, find ways to connect with this generation, with these younger students, these college students. And they can do that through us. We have multiple ways to connect, whether it's through hosting a student for the summer as an intern. We also have micro internships, which are like hosting projects where they can just work on a project for you. We have speaking opportunities on our webinars, various ways to get everyone connected. Because as you said, it's about, we're all a part of this community of people who just want to make the world better and who want to change things. So that would be my takeaway. And I can leave my information. Should I leave my information now too?
Sure, like your email or your website, whichever is the best way to get in touch with you, or LinkedIn.
Yeah. So our website is tnpa.org/leading edge. And that's where you can, under the employer tab, you can read more about how to host an intern or engage with the students. And then my email is struxon, so that's struxon@tnpa.org. So would love to hear from any employers who want to connect with this generation. I can help with that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Shelby. And Shannon, what's your closing thought? And
gosh, Shelby's was so good, but I will echo hers and add to that too. We've heard from a number of companies that are interested in investing and supporting Leading Edge, that they believe in it. They want us to help it grow. And it also can be part of their own corporate, for the companies, their own corporate DEI commitment and how they're investing in the diversity of the sector and the workforce. So if that is something either in addition to or instead of the opportunities that Shelby outlined, we encourage you to get in touch with Shelby as well there.
Excellent. And can you also be reached through the website?
Yes, through the website, or you can find me on LinkedIn, or my email address is smccracken, lots of C's in that, smccracken @tnpa.org.
That's great. Well, thank you for that, Shannon and Shelby. What a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. I hope one or both of you will be back in the future and we'll talk about some more nonprofit stuff.
That would be fabulous. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, Cecilia. It was great.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining me. And we do have to go rogue for now, or we'll be talking for another hour. I want to thank my guests, Shannon McCracken and Shelby Truxon of the Nonprofit Alliance. Please check out their website, learn more about this new-ish group. I'm not going to say brand new because they have been around for a short time, but check them out. If you're a consultant in the nonprofit space, I definitely encourage you to check them out. They have unique programming just for vendors and consultants that you can access as a member. So check it out. So since we have to go rogue, I need to do my little bit of a commercial here, folks. Rogue Tulips Consulting provides consulting services exclusively to nonprofit organizations of all types. If you'd like to learn how we can help your organization bloom outside the box, check out our website, roguetulips.com, and you can see a list of our services on our services page. If something you're interested in isn't there, give us a call and let's talk. If you're a CAE candidate, or just a curious sort like myself, and you'd like to get some education about nonprofit management, check out our education program, the 501c League. It has its own website. Yes, folks, it's that big. The 501c League's website is the 501cleague.net. Check it out and see what we have coming up for the fall, or what we're having coming up through our second Wednesday series. which goes on throughout the year. Thanks again, everybody. And on behalf of Shannon, Shelby, and myself, we'll see you next time.